Hi everyone, this is our fifth video in the series about unit testing. In this video we're going to focus on, once we created the unit test, what can we do with the application. So it's going to be more about refactorings than it is about unit testing, just showing you some ideas like we did in the previous video. In all 4 videos so far we covered unit testing from start to create a CSV file, then run migrated codes and mock data and run more sophisticated tests on migrated code, and then do a bit of refactoring. And in the previous session, what we have done, we've refactored the expression of unit price times quantity minus discount to the entity itself and reused it throughout our application. And by that, we created a consistent code that all of the application uses, so it can be changed in one place. And we made sure that it was done well by running our tests every time and things that they were running correctly. We then eliminated several inner classes that were in charge of accumulating the total for an order into one such method in the orders class that just does it for us, and which allowed us, with these like 6 lines of code, delete literally 100 or 200 lines of code in the project itself. And the focus here is that we are going to move code from classes, controller classes, into the model and types, because that's where it makes sense. That's where it should be. It's like when I conceive object-oriented, I conceive the order as an object, and the getTotal is an oriented method for it, so I would put it here. I would search for it here, and I would put it here. Now, what I want to do in this session is, first of all, do a trick with you guys to show you the profiler, which I'm sure all of you have seen and used, and show you how we can use it actually in tests, to play with the tests. So just a quick reminder what the profiler does. If I run the application, I can say right-click, start profiling, and just do something, and the profiler will give me information about what have I done. Okay, it will show me the connections that was opened, the SQL statements that were sent to the database, everything that was being done here. Okay, now sometimes we want this clarity from a test. We want to see this information when we are writing a test, while we are writing the test. Now the profiler is code, just like any other code, and it resides in env. So if, for example, we want to have a look at let's choose test order CSV. Let's take the most complex test over here. Let's take this one. And let's ask to see it in a profiler. I can just say, okay, env dot utilities profiler start, and then say env utilities profiler end. Okay, and if we run just this test, and wait patiently for it to complete, a profiler session would have been created. Okay, and then I can go and view the profiler session. Oh, sorry, would the profiler session would have been created, or had it opened? No, I don't see it opening. Okay, I've missed something. Okay, what I meant to do here, sorry for all the confusion, is actually save it to the file. Okay, so I can say here, save the profiler to ctemp.xx.prof, and when I run this test, when it completes, I will have the ctemp.xx.prof, and I'll be able to open it and see the profiler results of what had happened. Okay, so this clarifies how it operates and what it does. We can see that the order CSV was called on start, order CSV inner class, which used an access to the order table to get the select statement of the original items. Hey, we can see that it's locking, we should probably fix that. And we can see here everything that it was executing, including the inserts that we've done to the order detail to insert both test information. Okay, cool. And the delete that we've run to start with. So we can use the profiler to review tests as we run them, and we can also group things in the profiler if you want to group them. And the profiler is built like of an entry and sub-entries and sub-entries. Sometimes we want to group them so we can see what's going on. And this is more of a profiling technique than it is a testing technique, but still it's useful. So I can go over here and say, okay, this is using env utilities profiler start context, and say insert to order detail both, and wrap it with curly brackets. Okay. When I do this, and I'll run the test again, we can see that now we have a section called insert to orders details, and everything is beneath it. So I can follow it and see what is going on.
Can I use it also in the code?
Yes, you can, and it's recommended to use it also in the code. Okay. Where would I use it? I would use it, for example, in the code that we've done earlier in the orders when we have the get total. If I'm interested in how many times it's running or how much time does it take specifically, I can say here the same thing. Using env utilities profiler start context, get order total method okay. And now if I run the test again, the profiler file will now only row called the get order total method, and I can get exactly what happened beneath it. The select statement with the 3 fetches and everything around it. Cool. So we can use the profiler not only when we run the application, also when we test, and we can group several operations with the profiler to get a better understanding of what's going on with them. Cool. So that's just one profiler tip to use. We can say start and end whenever we want. Okay, start and end whenever we want. And if we're doing it within the application and we end it without a file name, it will actually show it to us. But from testing it couldn't because it doesn't have a screen. And we can use the using here to group several operations together into a group that we can look at as one in the profiler. Okay? Cool. So let's keep it here. It sounds good. Now, in the previous video, we have moved everything from all the different subtasks into this piece of code. Now, the biggest benefit of that is that now if I want to reach an application-wide improvement in performance, I can just go ahead and change this code and it will affect everything that we have outside. Okay? Now, not saying that what I'm going to do now is the best way to doing it, it's just I want to show you how powerful it is and how the test saves me from doing that. Okay, so let's say that we have 1 million orders in the order details and we want to change that to be an SQL statement that we just ask the database to get the total. So I will go and open the database and I will create a new query. And I will say select from order details. Okay, I've got my select statement. As you all remember, we've deleted the details last time, and I hope that by the next time we'll have the data repopulated here. And I can then say, okay, select sum of unit price times sum of quantity minus sum of discount. Okay, and I should probably spell quantity correctly. Good. And I'll say here where order ID is equals, and then I'll put 1 to get the first order, 2 to get the second order, or whatever I want over here. Okay? Now I can take this and put it in my code. Let's go to our code and say here, just use version control to our benefit. So we commit this, and now we can do what we want here. Let's go and get a, I'm doing it with the most basic syntax of .NET. I'm just going to get a command objects from the database. So I'm going to say data sources .northwind .create command, and that command will be equal to this and plus this dot order ID dot toString. Okay, and I will return number dot cast of c dot execute scalar. Okay. Now I may have done it right, I may have done it wrong. Some of you might be screaming about the obvious mistake that I've done here, and that's okay. Let's see the test find it for us. Okay, we can see that almost everything went well, just this test that went wrong. And it shows me that the expected was 86 and the result was 186. Now I'm going to serve you all the mystery. By the rules of mathematics, I shouldn't have done sum to its all, I should have done sum to the result of the expression. Let's see if I was correct. Yay! So you can see how I made a profound change to the way it runs, and yet was able to find bugs quickly, fix them, and have the entire benefit in my application. And if we go again and review the xx.profilings that we've created, we can see now that when we are operating on leave row here, the get order total just runs a simple SQL instead of doing everything it used to do before. So we can now see how we can benefit from making changes very easily because we have the tests. So we can make profound, comprehensive changes just because we have our tests. So far so good. Now while we are all here and with full attention, I want to go and show you something else that is cool that you can do. And again, the test will make sure that we've done it right. Okay, so what we've done over here is again another SQL statement that gets executed. By the rules of SQL, I can actually put it as an embedded SQL. Let me show you what I mean. I can do select order ID, customer ID from orders. Okay, let's just run this. It works. And then I can do here an inner select. Instead of saying equals to 1, I can say orders dot order ID. Okay. And now obviously I'll get nothing on most rows, but few will have the rows because remember we deleted the order details. So we say where order ID is equal to 1, I will get the result. And this runs incredibly fast. Okay, this runs as part of the initial querying and everything that we do there. But previously we had to write dynamic SQL queries to create this. We couldn't do this in the normal way of writing codes that we were used to. And that is actually different now that you're using the .NET code. Let's see how. Let's see how we can incorporate that into our own code. Okay. In the orders table, we have different columns. And we see the name for the column, which is the name that it is called in the database. Okay, we can just add another column. Okay, call it order total. Okay, I'll give it a format of I don't know, 10.2n, and I'll give it a caption of order total. Okay, now for the name, I have no limit for the name. Okay, it's not restricted by any length definition, so I can actually put the entire inner select here. So I'll take this entire inner select and put it here. Okay, now let me run this, and if I do Shift F2 and have a look at the table, I have a new column now with the order total, which I can use in any way I like. So that's extremely powerful and you can use it very well, but it also comes with a problem in it. If I'll go and update it, let's go switch to modify, I update it to like 187, I will leave the row, SQL will give me a huge error saying, hey, you cannot do that. Because you cannot really update a select like this, okay? Which is correct, and it will also help me when I'm trying to insert rows, because I cannot insert this. So for that we have a very cool flag which we like to call db read only, which means db read only, and by saying db read only, I'm saying that this column will only be part of the select statement. It will not be part of the insert statement or the update statement. So if I'll do again Shift F2, look at the table, I've got it now. If I'll try to update it, I'll be able to update it, but even though the value will not be saved, so I'll refresh it to get the original value, and insert would work and everything else would work. And this can save incredible amounts of time when you're writing your code in your application. Now let's just make sure that it works correctly. Since we have all of our beautiful tests, but they're not using it yet, okay, so let's just make the code that we wrote use it. And we'll go to order CSV. And instead of calling the orders get total, we just say, hey, use the orders.order total column that we just created. Remember to add it to the columns collection, just like any other columns that you use. So I'll say here, columns add orders dot order total, okay, and that way it will be included in the select statement. And let's run our tests. And we see that we've done something wrong, which I'm guessing we kind of repeated the previous bugs that we've done earlier. So let's, again, thank God for testing. And let's fix it. And run the test again. Look how quickly the cycle is from making a change to running the test to seeing that everything is okay. Previously, we used to run the application and click like 70 buttons to get to the right screen to see if the result is okay. And then we had to have someone in QA do it. And because it was so complicated to test, we just didn't test as often. But because now testing is just clicking a button and seeing that it works, you'll do it a lot more. And if we again we'll review the profiler, we can see that now the onStar just doesn't do anything. The only row is empty. And the orders table, the original select statement, had our inner select in it. Cool. Any questions?
No.
Okay, so I think this concludes this series of videos about unit testing in general and unit testing in migrated code, and even a bit about tricks and refactoring and things that you can do. If you come up with questions, if you think of anything that we should have included and didn't, feel free to contact us or write in our forum or reply to this email. I hope you'll implement this. I think from my perspective as a development manager, as a CEO, this has changed the way we write code. I was lucky enough to start Firefly using this technology, and I think it's the only thing that enabled us to survive all of these years with all of the tremendous changes that have happened. Because when you have 15,000 of automatic tests that test every day that everything that you do works, you can do anything. You can do anything. Thank you so much, and see you in the next videos.